You plug in your phone every single night. You watch that battery climb from 40% to 60, then 80, then finally hit that satisfying 100%, and you leave it there all night long, charging at full capacity while you sleep. Everyone does this, right? It's just what you do with phones. Your iPhone sits on your nightstand, glowing softly, showing you that perfect 100% every morning. Mission accomplished. But here's what nobody at the Apple Store tells you. Here's what Samsung doesn't mention in those slick commercials. That nightly ritual you've been doing for years, it's actually destroying the one component in your phone that you can't easily replace. Your battery is dying faster because you're treating it too well. I know that sounds backwards, but in the next 15 minutes, you're gonna understand why charging to 100% is like force-feeding your phone until it's sick. And once you see how lithium-ion batteries actually work, you'll never plug in your phone the same way again. So let's talk about what's really happening inside that sleek rectangle in your pocket. Think about the last time you bought a new phone. Remember how incredible the battery was? You could go a whole day, maybe even 2 days, without thinking about a charger. You'd use GPS, scroll through Instagram, watch Netflix on your commute. The battery just lasted. Now think about that same phone 18 months later. Suddenly you're at 60% by noon. You're carrying a charging cable everywhere. You've got portable battery packs stashed in your car, your backpack, your desk drawer. You're planning your day around outlet locations like you're some kind of power socket treasure hunter. Apple tells you this is normal battery degradation. They say batteries are consumable components that naturally wear out. And technically, they're right. But here's what they don't say. The way you charge is making it happen way faster than it needs to. Most people think battery health is just about how many times you've charged it. Like your phone has a punch card, and after 500 charges, your battery starts giving up. But that's not how it works at all. What really matters is the stress you put on that battery every single time it's plugged in. And keeping it at 100%, that's like putting your battery under a constant, grinding pressure that slowly tears it apart from the inside. Here's what I call the sweet spot paradox. Your battery actually hates being full. It also hates being empty. But we've been trained to think 100% is the goal. It's right there in the design, that satisfying green bar, that sense of completion when you see triple digits. Your phone is fully charged and ready to go. Except your lithium-ion battery doesn't work like a gas tank. When you fill up your car, you want it topped off. More gas equals more miles. Simple math, but your battery is a chemical reaction happening inside a tiny metal case. And when you force that chemical reaction to its absolute maximum capacity and then keep it there for 8 hours while you sleep, you're creating stress at the molecular level. Think of it like this. Imagine you just finished Thanksgiving dinner. You're full, completely satisfied. Now imagine someone says you have to keep eating, not just for another hour, but for 8 more hours. Just keep forcing food in, even though you're already at capacity. That's what happens when your phone hits 100% and stays plugged in. The lithium ions in your battery are packed together as tightly as they can possibly go. They're under maximum tension, and the longer they stay in that state, the more damage accumulates. Little fractures in the battery's internal structure, tiny bits of lithium that get stuck and can't move freely anymore, chemical reactions that shouldn't happen but do because of the sustained stress. Battery scientists call this high voltage stress. And it's one of the biggest factors in battery degradation that's actually within your control. But here's where it gets really interesting. There's also what happens at the other end. You know how everyone says never let your battery die completely? They're absolutely right, but probably not for the reason you think. When your battery drops below 20% and you keep using it, you're doing something called deep discharge. And this is almost as bad as staying at 100%, maybe worse. Because when lithium-ion batteries get too empty, the internal chemistry starts breaking down in ways that are really hard to reverse. It's like stretching a rubber band too far. Do it once, and it mostly bounces back. Do it every single day for a year, and that rubber band gets loose and weak, and eventually snaps. So your battery is trapped between two danger zones. Full is bad, empty is bad. But everyone keeps pushing their phones to these extremes because that's what feels right. We want to see that 100% notification. We want to squeeze out every last minute before we absolutely have to find a charger. And this is where the framework really clicks into place. There's this window, this sweet spot where your battery is actually happiest. And that window is roughly between 20% and 80%. Inside that range, the lithium ions in your battery can move around without being crushed together or stretched too thin. The chemical reactions happen smoothly. The internal stress is minimal. Your battery is just doing its job without being pushed to its absolute limits. Think about your own energy levels during the day. You're probably not at your best right after a massive meal when you're stuffed and sluggish, and you're definitely not at your best when you're running on empty, caffeine-deprived, and starving. You're at your best somewhere in the middle, energized but not overwhelmed. Your phone battery works the same way. Now, before you start thinking this means you can never charge to 100%, let me be clear. Occasionally hitting full charge isn't going to destroy your phone. Going to zero once in a while isn't catastrophic. Your battery can handle it, but it's the daily pattern that matters. It's what you do consistently that determines how fast your battery ages. And here's what makes this particularly sneaky. The damage from high voltage stress is invisible until suddenly it's not. Your battery doesn't give you warning signs. It doesn't say, "Hey, I'm being stressed out here." It just keeps working until one day you notice you're at 40% by lunchtime and you're thinking, what happened? My battery used to be so good. What happened is cumulative damage. Hundreds of nights at 100%, thousands of hours under maximum tension. And now the capacity that used to be there is just gone. The battery chemistry has degraded to the point where those lithium ions can't hold as much energy anymore. Apple actually knows this. So does Samsung. That's why newer iPhones have that optimized battery charging feature. You've probably seen it. Your phone learns your charging routine and tries to hold at 80% until right before you wake up. Then it tops off to 100% just in time for you to unplug it. That feature exists specifically to reduce the amount of time your battery spends at full charge. Because Apple's engineers understand that sitting at 100% for 8 hours every night is killing the battery faster than necessary. But most people either don't know that feature exists or they turn it off because they want to see that full charge every single time. And I get it. There's something psychologically satisfying about maximum readiness. But you're trading that satisfaction for battery longevity. Let me tell you about my friend Rachel. Rachel got an iPhone 13 the day it came out. She was so excited about this phone. And every single night, she'd plug it in right before bed. Wake up to 100%. She'd even get annoyed if she woke up at 3 in the morning and saw it was only at 95%. She wanted that perfect 100%. Fast forward 16 months. Rachel's phone won't make it past dinner time without dying. She's constantly hunting for chargers. Her battery health in settings shows 81% capacity. The phone that used to last all day now barely makes it to afternoon. And Rachel thought this was just normal. Everyone's phone battery gets worse over time, right? That's just how technology works. Planned obsolescence. Companies make phones that degrade, so you'll buy new ones. Except here's what's interesting. I got the same iPhone 13 at the same time Rachel did, but I set mine up differently. I turned on optimized charging. I put a shortcut that tells me when my battery hits 80%. And most nights, I just unplug it around 80 and let it sit for the night. 16 months later, my battery health is at 93%. Same phone, same amount of usage. But because I kept it in that sweet spot most of the time, my battery aged way slower than Rachel's. Now look at Marcus. Marcus treats his phone like it's always about to die. He's paranoid about battery percentage. If his phone drops below 50%, he's reaching for a charger. He'll plug in for 15 minutes in his car, plug in while he's having coffee. His phone basically lives on a charging cable. You'd think Marcus's battery would be in great shape, right? Constant top-ups, never getting too low. But here's what Marcus doesn't realize. Every time he charges from 70 to 100%, he's pushing his battery into that high stress zone. And he's doing it multiple times per day. Plus, Marcus uses his phone while it's charging. He's scrolling through Twitter, watching YouTube, playing games. And when you use your phone while it's charging, especially while it's near full capacity, you're generating heat. And heat is the secret battery killer that nobody talks about enough. Lithium-ion batteries hate heat even more than they hate being fully charged. Heat accelerates every single degradation process happening inside that battery. It makes the chemical reactions go haywire. It causes permanent damage to the battery's internal structure. So Marcus, with all his careful charging habits, is actually creating a perfect storm of battery stress. High voltage, frequent charging cycles, and heat, all working together to age his battery faster. After a year, Marcus's battery health is at 84%, worse than Rachel's, even though he was trying so hard to take care of it. Notice the pattern here? Rachel's approach and Marcus's approach are both destroying their batteries, just in different ways. Rachel's hammering her battery with sustained full charge overnight. Marcus is creating constant stress with frequent high-level charging and heat. But the key insight isn't about the specific numbers or the exact percentage points. It's about understanding that your battery is a living system that experiences stress. And that stress accumulates based on how you treat it. Here's what most people don't realize. Battery degradation isn't a countdown timer. It's not like you get 500 charges and then your battery is toast. It's about the quality of those charges. A charge from 20 to 60% is way gentler on your battery than a charge from 10 to 100%. Your battery has something called charge cycles. One charge cycle equals going from 0 to 100%, but it doesn't have to happen all at once. You could go from 50 to 75, then later from 75 to 100, and that counts as part of a cycle. But the impact on your battery health depends entirely on where those charges happen. Charges in the middle range, say 40 to 70%, are low stress. The battery barely feels them. Charges at the extremes, 5 to 30 or 80 to 100, are high stress. The battery is working hard, chemicals are getting pushed to their limits, heat is building up. And charges that keep you pinned at 100% for hours, that's sustained maximum stress. That's your battery being crushed under pressure for no good reason except that we've been trained to think full equals good. The people who keep their batteries healthy for years aren't doing anything magical. They're not using special charging cables or expensive accessories. They understand this one simple truth. Batteries are happiest in the middle. They charge when they need to. They stop around 80% most of the time. They don't panic if their phone drops to 30%. They're not precious about it, but they're also not forcing their battery to extremes every single day. And here's the uncomfortable truth that the phone companies don't want to emphasize. Modern phones are designed around the assumption that you'll replace them every 2 to 3 years. The battery is engineered to last about that long with typical use, which means charging to 100% every night. But if you want your battery to last longer, if you want to keep your phone for 3, 4, even 5 years, you have to treat it differently than the default behavior pattern. You have to recognize that 100% isn't the goal. It's a stress point. And 20% isn't an emergency. It's the beginning of the safe zone. The question isn't whether you can keep your battery healthy. The question is whether you're willing to change the pattern that feels automatic. Because charging to 100% every night feels right. It feels responsible and prepared. Unplugging at 80% feels incomplete. But once you understand what's actually happening inside that battery, the stress, the degradation, the cumulative damage, you can't unknow it. You see your charging habits differently. That 100% notification stops feeling like an achievement and starts feeling like a red flag. So here's what we've uncovered. Your battery lives in constant tension between two extremes. Full charge creates high voltage stress that damages internal chemistry. Empty charge creates deep discharge that permanently reduces capacity. The sweet spot is the middle, roughly 20 to 80%, where battery stress is minimal and degradation happens slowest. Keeping your phone at 100% overnight is like leaving a muscle flex for 8 hours straight. It's exhausting. It creates damage, and doing it every single night for 2 years adds up to the difference between a battery that still holds 90% of its capacity and one that's already down to 75%. The framework isn't complicated. Charge when you need to, stop before you hit the maximum. Don't obsess over the exact numbers, but understand the pattern. Your battery doesn't care about your psychological need to see 100%. It just experiences stress or relief based on the chemistry happening inside. And heat matters more than most people realize. A hot battery ages faster than a cool one, always. So don't leave your phone in a hot car. Don't charge it while it's running intensive apps. Let it cool down before plugging in if it's been working hard. These aren't sacrifices. They're just slight adjustments to habits you probably never thought to question. Because nobody explains how batteries actually work. They just tell you, charge your phone like it's simple. But it's not simple. It's chemistry and physics and cumulative stress happening invisibly inside a component you can't replace without basically buying a new phone. The real shift isn't in the behavior, it's in the understanding. Once you see your battery as a system under stress rather than a container to fill up, everything changes. You stop thinking about maximum charge as the goal and start thinking about sustainable patterns that keep your phone working longer. So next time you plug in your phone at night and watch that percentage climb toward 100, ask yourself, am I charging because I need tomorrow's battery life, or am I charging because full feels complete? Because if you only need 80% to get through tomorrow, that extra 20% is costing you months of battery longevity. Your battery isn't asking for perfection. It's asking for the middle ground. And now you know where that is.